palko Krishna Kirtana Ganana.
Good evening, everyone. Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees of the Prabhupada Disciples Association globally. And for those who are preaching Krishna consciousness in their particular areas locally. So our philosophy is based on the principle of think locally, expand globally. And this was Prabhupada's direction for himself and his movement, Krishna Consciousness movement, which was to propagate Krishna Consciousness to every town and village in the world. And it's called Prabhupada Desha. Like for myself, I've been in the same area for 52 years. And the Hamilton Hare Krishna Center started in 1970. So we're still here in Hamilton. I went away to Toronto for 16 years, and then I floated into Maya for a while, and floated back out of Maya into some level of focus on spiritual life and Krishna consciousness to wind up the last section of my life, like many of us in this group. So there's a saying in baseball, it's not over till it's over. It was by Yogi Berra. So in the same way, it's not over till it's over in Krishna consciousness. And anyone who takes up the process of devotional service with intensity and focus, they become reinstated. On this path, there is no loss or diminution, and any amount of advancement can save one from the greatest amount of danger or fear. So we encourage everybody to just keep going. No matter what the past is, all we can do is unfold the future and use Prabhupada's example as the steps to follow in our path back home, back to Godhead. So we're going to carry on with the reading at the end of the Jaladuta diary. Behind me, you can see my screen, or the backdrop is got some kind of plastic covering. We're painting here at the house. One of our bhaktas is painting as his service, so at the ashram here. So just left the painting plastic up for today, and it'll be back to normal on Saturday if he shows up again by then. It's a voluntary service, so you never know. But nonetheless, that doesn't distract us from our reading and class on a Wednesday night here from Eastern Canada, 8 p.m. in the evening, and whatever time I see our Dwaipana and Balaram are there in Australia. Is it 8? What is it, 8 o'clock there, a.m.?
No, it's 10 a.m.
Okay, good. That's even
10 a.m.
better.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're thinking of having the Nectar of Devotion class with the same rotation on Tuesdays, as opposed to the Saturday morning program, where we already have 2 early morning programs, which cut people out of that opportunity in time zones like yours. And at the same time, we're still posting everything on our channel now. Vinkat, what is the channel name again? Krishna Consciousness Movement now?
Yeah, that's right. It's called
Krishna
Consciousness Movement.
Okay, thank you. Krishna Consciousness Movement. I'm sorry for the changes. We're moving around our brand names so that we can get it focused and build out from there. We have over 7,000 500 people now, members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association, and building on Facebook. So we're going to read from the, this is a summary. Vinkat, I had a chance to read it. It was quite enlightening and inspiring at the end of this particular book. We are going to move forward. I'll show you. Sorry. Apologize for the bad setting there. We're going to be moving ahead with this book next, which is a detailed summary of Prabhupada's early days in New York City. And has all his budgets and money and how he handled everything and letters. It's very insightful for all of us to see how a pure devotee like him propagated the Sankirtan movement in the early years of its development. So do you have that copy, Vinkat Prabhu? The beginning?
I don't think so. I'll have to look for it.
Okay, thank you. So this will be the last reading from this particular book for now. It's the last article on the in the booklet. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda appeared in this world in 1896 in Calcutta, India. He first met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, in 1922. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, a prominent religious scholar and the founder of 64 Gaudiya Math's Vedic institutes, liked this educated young man and convinced him to dedicate his life to teaching Vedic knowledge. Srila Prabhupada became his student, and 11 years later, in 1933, in Allahabad, became his initiated disciple. At their first meeting in 1922, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur requested Srila Prabhupada to broadcast Vedic knowledge through the English language. In the years that followed, Srila Prabhupada wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, assisted the Gaudiya Math in its work, and in 1944 started Back to Godhead magazine. Maintaining the publication was a struggle. Single-handedly, Srila Prabhupada wrote the material, edited, typed the manuscripts, checked the gallery proofs, and even distributed the individual copies. The magazine is now being continued by his followers and is published in over 30 languages. That should read now. Was being continued by his followers. Recognizing Srila Prabhupada's philosophic learning and devotion, the Society of Gaudiya Vaishnavas honored him in 1947 with the title Bhaktivedanta. In 1950, at the age of 54, Srila Prabhupada retired from family life. 1950, at the age of 54. Prabhupada retired from family life, adopting the Varnaprastha retired order to devote more time to study, writing, and preaching. Srila Prabhupada moved to the holy city of Vrindavan, where he lived in humble circumstances in the historic medieval temple of Radha Damodar. There he spent several years in deep study and writing. He accepted the renounced order of life, sannyas, in 1959. At Radha Damodar, Srila Prabhupada began work on his life's masterpiece, a multi-volume annotated translation of the 18,000-verse Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavat Purana. He also wrote Easy Journey to Other Planets. After publishing 3 volumes of the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada journeyed to the United States, arriving in September of 1965. Actually, he arrived in New York September 19th. And fortunately, it was my birthday, September 19th, to fulfill the mission of his spiritual master. With him, he brought no foreign exchange, but he did bring sets of his books. After almost a year of difficulty, he established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in July 1966. Subsequently, His Divine Grace went on to write more than 60 volumes of authoritative, annotated translations and summary studies of the philosophical and religious classics of India. Before passing away on November 14th, 1977, Srila Prabhupada guided his society to a worldwide confederation of more than 100 ashrams, schools, temples, institutes, and farm communities. In 1968, Srila Prabhupada created New Vrindavan, an experimental Vedic community in the hills of West Virginia, which became a thriving rural community of more than 2,000 acres. Several similar communities were established in the United States and other countries. In 1972, His Divine Grace introduced the Vedic system of primary and secondary education in the West by founding the Gurukula system school in Dallas, Texas. Since then, his disciples have established schools throughout the United States and the rest of the world, with the principal educational centers located in Vrindavan and Mayapur, India. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was the headmaster appointed by Prabhupada in Vrindavan for a period of time. On the level of higher education, Srila Prabhupada formed the Bhaktivedanta Institute, a center for advanced study and research into the nature of consciousness and the self. The institute is comprised of a body of scientists and scholars who have recognized the unique value of the teachings brought to the West by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada also oversaw the construction of several large international cultural centers in India. The center at Sridham Mayapur in West Bengal is the site for a future spiritual city. In Vrindavan are the magnificent Krishna Balaram Temple and International Guest House and the Srila Prabhupada Memorial and Museum. There's also a major cultural and educational center in Bombay. Srila Prabhupada's most significant contributions, however, are his books, highly respected by the academic community for their authority, depth, and clarity. They are used as standard textbooks in numerous college courses. His writings have been translated into over 50 languages. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, established in 1972 to present the works of His Divine Grace, has become the world's largest publisher of books in the field of Indian religion and philosophy. In just 12 years, in spite of his advanced age, Srila Prabhupada circled the globe 14 times on lecture tours that took him to 6 continents, where he daily enlightened audiences with classes and discussions on the Vedic literature. Over 2,000 of these lectures are available on recordings, initiating over 4,700 disciples and enlisting further tens of thousands of life member supporters. He guided his followers and inquirers with valuable instructions and counseling, both personally and through some 7,000 letters. It's written 10,000 disciples, but I believe there's only 4,700 and some odd. In spite of such vigorous regimen, Srila Prabhupada continued to write prolifically. His works constitute a veritable library of Vedic philosophy, religion, culture, literature, and culture. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we'll move forward and we'll have Vinka Prabhu please bring up the chanting of Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Bihari to begin the class. Sing along with Srila Prabhupada, all of you participants, and then we'll have the class given by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu on Caitanya-caritāmṛta. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amasvat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sthitare Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki Jai Rāmācārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsādhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर ऑल ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Welcome everybody to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. First, we'll be reading a few verses from Adi Lila, chapter 1, starting with text number 18. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya in Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra. And glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke kariye chino yatmasat. Etinera charana vandana tire morinat. Translation. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grantirarambi Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinira Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I've invoked their benedictions. Text number 21. Tinera smaraniyai vigna vinashana anayasayai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala charanoi trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shiravada namaskara. The invocation invokes three processes, defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Today we'll be reading from Bhadi Lila, chapter 2, from text number 41, all synonyms, translation, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 41. Ataeva yadishwar tumi sarvapita, tomar shakti te tanra jagat rakshita. Translation. Therefore, Ataeva, therefore, Adishwara, primeval Lord, to me, you, Sarva, of all, Pita, Father, Tomara, your, Shaktiti, by the energy, Tanra, they, Jagat, of the cosmic creation, Rakshita, protectors. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, you are the primeval Lord, the original Father of everyone. They, the Purushas, are protectors of the universes by your power. Text number 42. Narera ayanodyate karahapalan ataeva otumi mula narayana. Narera, of the living beings, ayana, the shelters, yati, those to whom, karaha, you give, palana, protection, ataeva, therefore, au, are, to me, you, mula, original, narayana, narayana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Since you protect those who are the shelters of all living beings, you are the original Narayana. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The controlling deities of the living beings in the mundane worlds are the three Purusha avatars. But the potent energy displayed by Sri Krishna is far more extensive than that of the Purushas. Sri Krishna is therefore the original Father and Lord who protects all creative manifestation through his various plenary portions. Since he sustains even the shelters of the collective living beings, there is no doubt that Sri Krishna is the original Narayana. Text 43. Tritiya Karana Shuna Sri Bhagavan Ananta Brahmanda Bahu Vaikuntadi Dhamma. Tritiya, third. Karana, reason. Shuna, please hear. Sri Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ananta, unlimited. Brahma Anda, universes. Bahu, many. Vaikunta Adi, Vaikunta, etc. Dhamma, planets. Translation. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly hear my third reason. There are countless universes and fathomless transcendental Vaikuntas. Text 44. Ite yata jiva tara traikalika karma tahadeka sakshi tumi jana sabha marma. Ite, in these, yata, as many, jiva, living beings, tara, of them, tre kalika, past, present, and future, karma, the activities, taha, that, deka, you see, sakshi, witness, to me, you, jana, you know, sabha, of everything, marma, the essence. Translation, both in this material world and in the transcendental world, you see all the deeds of all living beings in the past, present, and future. Since you are the witness of all such deeds, you know the essence of everything. Text 45. Tumara darshane sarva jagatera stiti, tumi na dekera karona hi stiti gati. Tumara, your, darshane, by the seeing, sarva, all, jagatera, of the universe, stiti, maintenance, to me, you, nadekile, in not seeing, karo, of anyone, nahi, there is not, stiti, staying, gati, moving. Translation, all the worlds exist because you oversee them. None can live, move, or have their being without your supervision. Text 46. Narero ayana yatit kara darashana, tahate o tumi mula narayana, narera, of the living beings, ayana, the motion, yate, since, kara, you do, darashana, seeing, tahateo, therefore, ao, are, to me, you, mula, original, narayana, narayana. Translation, you oversee the wanderings of all living beings. For this reason also, you are the primeval Lord Narayana. Purport. Sri Krishna in his Paramatma feature lives in the hearts of all living beings in both the transcendental and mundane creations. As Paramatma, he witnesses all actions the living beings perform in all phases of time, namely past, present, and future. Sri Krishna knows what the living beings have done for hundreds and thousands of past births. He sees what they are doing now, and therefore he knows the results of their present actions that will fructify in the future. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the entire cosmic situation is created as soon as he glances over the material energy. Nothing can exist without his superintendence. Since he sees even the abode for rest of the collective living beings, he is the original Narayana. Text 47. Krishna kahena Brahma tomar na bhuji vachan. Jivaridi jale vaise se Narayana. Krishna, Lord Krishna, kahena, says, Brahma, O Brahma, tomara, your, na, not, bhuji, I understand, vachana, speech, jiva, of the living entity, hridi, in the heart, jale, in the water, vaise, sits, say that, Narayana, Lord Narayana. Translation. Krishna said, Brahma, I cannot understand what you are saying. Lord Narayana is he who sits in the hearts of all living beings and lies down in the waters of the Karana ocean. Text 48. Brahma kahe jale jive jai Narayana. Se saba tumara amsha se satyavachana. Brahma, Lord Brahma, kahe, says, jale, in the water, jive, in the living being, ye, who, Narayana, Narayana, say, they, sabha, all, tumara, your, amsha, plenary part, this, satya, truthful, vachana, word. Translation. Brahma replied, what I have said is true. The same Lord Narayana who lives on the waters and in the hearts of all living beings is but a plenary portion of you. Text 49. Karana abdi garbodaka kshirodaka shayi. Maya dvare srishti kare tate sabamayi. Karana abdi, Karana dokashayi Vishnu. Garbahudaka, Garbodakashayi Vishnu. Kshira udakashayi, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Maya dvare, with the material energy. Srishti, creation. Kare, they do. Tate, therefore. Sabha, all. Mayi, connected with Maya. Translation. The Karanodakashayi, Garbhodakashayi, and Kshirodakashayi form of Narayana all create in cooperation with the material energy. In this way, they're attached to Maya. Text 50. Setino jala shoye sarva antaryami. Brahmanda vrindera atma ye purushanami. These three Vishnus lying in the water are the super soul of everything. Say these, Tina, three, Jalashayi, lying in the water, Sarva, of all, Antaryami, the super soul, Brahma Anda, of universes, Vrindera, of the multitude, Atma, super soul, Ye, who, Purusha, Purusha, Nami, name. These three Vishnus lying in the water are the super soul of everything. The super soul of all the universes is known as the first Purusha. Text 51. Hiranya garbira atma garbhodakashayi, vyasti jivantaryami kshirodakashayi. Hiranya garbera, of the total of the living entities. Atma, the super soul. Garbha udakashayi, garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Vyashti, the individual. Jiva, of the living entity. Antaryami, super soul. Kshira udakashayi, kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is the super soul of the aggregate of living entities. And Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is the super soul of each individual living being. Isabhara darshaneto echi maya ganda, turiya krishnera nahi mayara sambanda. This, sabhara, of the assembly, darshanete, in seeing, ache, there is, maya gandha, connection with maya, turiya, the fourth, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, nahi, there is not, mayara, of the material energy, sambandha, connection. Translation. Superficially, we see that these Purushas have a relationship with Maya, but above them in the fourth dimension is Lord Krishna, who has no contact with the material energy. Purport. The three Purushas, Karanodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, all have a relationship with the material energy called Maya, because through Maya they create the material cosmos. These three Purushas who lie on the Karana, Garbha, and Kshira waters are the super soul of everything that be. Karanodakashaya Vishnu is the super soul of the collective universes. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is the super soul of the collective living beings. And Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the super soul of all individual living entities. Because all of them are somehow attracted to the affairs of the material energy, they can be said to have some affection for Maya. But the transcendental position of Sri Krishna himself is not even slightly tinged by Maya. His transcendental state is called Turiya, or the fourth dimensional stage. Text 53. Viradiranya garbhascha karanam chetupadayah ishasya yatribirhinam turiyam tat prachakshate. Virat, the Virat manifestation, Hiranyagarbha, the Hiranyagarbha manifestation, Cha, and Karanam, the Karana manifestation, Cha, and Iti, thus, Upadhayaha, particular designations, Ishasya, of the Lord, Yat, that which, Tribihi, these three, Hinam, without, Turiyam, the fourth, Tat, that, Prachakshate, he considers. Translation. In the material world, the Lord is designated as Virat, Hiranyagarbha, and Karana. But beyond these three designations, the Lord is ultimately in the fourth dimension. Purport. The phenomenal manifestation of the Supreme Whole, the numal soul of everything, and the cause or causal nature are all but designations of the Purushas, who are responsible for material creation. The transcendental position surpasses these designations and is therefore called the position of the fourth dimension. This is a quotation from Sridhar Swami's commentary on the 11th canto, 15th chapter, verse 16 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yadhyapiti, text 54. Yadhyapiti ramaya laya vyavahar, tatapi tat sparsha nahi sabe maya par. Yadhyapi, although, tinera, of these three, maya, the material energy, laya, taking, vyavahara, the dealings, tatapi, still, tat, of that, sparsha, the touch, nahi, there is not, sabe, all of them, mayapara, beyond the material energy. Translation. Although these three features of the Lord deal directly with the material energy, none of them are touched by it. They're all beyond illusion. Text 55. Itadishanamishasya prakritisto pitadgunaihi nayujyate sadatmaster yata buddhistadashraya Etat, this, Ishanam, opulence, Ishasya, of the Supreme Lord, Prakritista, situated in the material nature, Api, although, Tat, of Maya, Gunai, by the qualities, Na, not, Yujyati, is affected, Sada, always, Atmastai, which are situated in his own energy, Yata, as also, Buddhi, the intelligence, Tat, of him, Ashraya, which has taken shelter. Translation: this is the opulence of the Lord. Although situated in the material nature, he is never affected by the modes of nature. Similarly, those who have surrendered to him and fixed their intelligence upon him are not influenced by the modes of nature. Purport. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:11-38. Those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead do not identify with the material world, even while living in it. Pure devotees may deal with the three modes of material nature, but because of their transcendental intelligence in Krishna consciousness, they're not influenced by the material qualities. The spell of material activities does not attract such devotees. Therefore, the Supreme Lord and his devotees acting under him are always free from material contamination. So somebody continue the lecture, please. I have to attend to something for a minute or two. Vishwakarma Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yes, I'll read on a little bit more, and then we'll wait for Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu to return. Se tina janar tumi paramam ashraya tumi mula narayana ites ki samshayaha. Sei, these, tina, 3, genera, of the plenary portions, tumi, you, parama, ultimate, ashraya, shelter, tumi, you, mula, primeval, Narayan, ite, in this, ki, what, samshayaha, doubt. Translation: you are the ultimate shelter of these 3 plenary portions. Thus, there is not the slightest doubt that you are the primeval Narayan. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Brahmā has confirmed that Lord Krishna is the supreme, the source of the 3 manifestations known as Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and Karanadakshayi Vishnu, Mahavishnu. For his pastimes, Lord Krishna has 4 original manifestations, namely Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. The first Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu, in the causal ocean, who is the creator of the aggregate material energy, is an expansion of Shankarshan. The second Purusha, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, is an expansion of Pradyumna, and the third Purusha, Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, is an expansion of Aniruddha. All these are within the category of manifestations of Narayan, who is a manifestation of Sri Krishna. Sei tenera amsi pravayoma Narayana, tenha tomara vilasha tumi mula Narayana. Sei, these, tenera, of the 3, amsi, source, paravyoma, in the spiritual sky, Narayan, Lord Narayan, tenha, he, tomara, your, vilasa, pastime, expansion, tumi, you, mula, original, Narayan, Narayan. Translation. The source of these three features is the Narayan in the spiritual sky. He is your Vilash expansion. Therefore, you are the ultimate Narayan. Text 58. Ataiva Brahma Vakye Paryoma Narayana Teno Krishnera Vilas Etatva Vivarana. Etaiva, therefore, Brahma, of Lord Brahma, Vakye, in the speech, Parayoma, in the spiritual sky, Narayana, Lord Narayan, Tainho, he, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, Vilasa, pastime incarnation, these, Tattva, of the truth, Vivarana, description. Therefore, according to the authority of Brahma, the Narayan, who is the predominating deity in the transcendental world, is but the Vilasa feature of Krishna. This has now been conclusively proved. A shloka tattva lakshana bhagavat sara paribhasa rupe ihara savatra adhikara. This sloka verse, tattva, the truth, lakshana, indicating, bhagavat, of Srimad Bhagavatam, sara, the essence, paribhasa, of synonyms, rupe, in the form, ihara, of the Srimad Bhagavatam, sarvatra, everywhere, adhikara, jurisdiction. Translation. The truth indicated in this verse, text 30, is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. This conclusion through synonyms applies everywhere. Brahma Atma Bhagavan Krishnera Vihara Artha Na Jani Murkha Artha Caritāmṛta. Brahma, impersonal Brahman, Atma, super soul, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, Vihara, manifestations, this, Artha, meaning, Na, not, Jani, knowing, Murkha, fools, Artha, meaning, Kare, make, Ara, other. Translation. Not knowing that Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are all features of Krishna, foolish scholars speculate in various ways. Text 61. Vatari Narayana Krishna avatar, Tainha Chatur Bhuja, Inha Manushya Akara. Synonyms. Avatari, source of incarnation. Narayana, Lord Narayan. Krishna, Lord Krishna, avatar, incarnation. Venha, that. Chaturbhuja, four arms. Inha, this. Manushya, like a man. Akara, form. Translation. Because Narayan has four hands, whereas Lord Krishna looks just like a man, they say that Narayan is the original God, whereas Krishna is but an incarnation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Some scholars argue that Narayan is the original personality of Godhead, of whom Krishna is an incarnation, because Sri Krishna has two hands where Narayan has four. Such unintelligent scholars do not understand the features of the absolute truth. Text 62. Emati mana rupa kari purva paksha. Tahari nirjiti bhagavata padya daksha. Imati, thus, nana, many, rupa, forms, kari, takes, Purvapaksha, the objections. Tanhari, them. Nirjiti, overcoming. Bhagavata of Srimad Bhagavatam. Pada poetry. Daksha, expert. In this way, their arguments appear in various forms, but the poetry of the Bhagavatam expertly refutes them. So here, this next verse is from the Bhagavatam, text 63, which we're reading currently in our Sunday morning classes. We're in this section. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj ganam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabhyate. Vedanti, they say, that, tattva vida, learned souls, tattvam, the absolute truth, yet which, jnanam, knowledge, advayam, non-dual, Brahman, iti, thus, paramatma, iti, thus, Bhagavan, iti, thus, sabhyate, is known. Translation. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge, and it is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. Is Yaśodā back? Vinkat?
Yep.
Go ahead, Yaśodā. Would you like to continue on with the
Sure. Okay.
a couple of more verses, and then maybe you could speak. Thank you.
Yep. Purport. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11. Shunabaye shloka karaha vichar eka mukhya tattva tina tahara prachar. Shuna, please listen. Bhai, brothers. This shloka, verse. Karaha, please give. Vichara, consideration. Eka, one. Mukhya, principle. Tattva, truth. Tina, three. Tahara, of that. Prachara, manifestations. Translation. My dear brothers, kindly listen to the explanation of this verse and consider its meaning. The one original entity is known in three different features. Text 65. Advayagyan tatvavastu Krishna Swarupa Brahma Atma Bhagavan Tinatandra Rupa. Advayagyan, knowledge without duality. Tattvavastu, the absolute truth. Krishna, of Lord Krishna. Swarupa, own nature. Brahma, Brahman. Atma, Paramatma. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tina, three. Tandra, of him. Rupa, forms. Lord Krishna himself is the one undivided absolute truth, the ultimate reality. He manifests himself in three features as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Purport. In the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam cited above, Bhagavatam 1-11, the principal word Bhagavan indicates the personality of Godhead, and Brahman and Paramatma are concomitants deducted from the absolute personality, as a government and its ministers are deductions from the supreme executive head. In other words, the principal truth is exhibited in three different phases. The absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Bhagavan, is also known as Brahman and Paramatma, although all these features are identical. Text 66. Ishlokera arte tumioela nirvachana Hare Krishna Bhagavatera vachana. This shlokera of the verse, arte by the meaning, to me, you, oela, have become, nirvachana, speeches, ara, other, eka, one, shuna, please hear, Bhagavatera, of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vachana, speech. Translation. The import of this verse has stopped you from arguing. Now listen to another verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 67. Iti cham sakalaha pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Ete, these, cha, and, amsha, plenary portions, kalaha, parts of plenary portions, pumsaha, of the Purusha avatars, Krishnaha, Lord Krishna, to, but, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam, himself, Indra Ari, the enemies of Lord Indra, Vyakulam, full of, Lokam, the world, Mridayanti, make happy, Yuge Yuge, at the right time in each age. Translation. All these incarnations of Godhead are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. In every age, he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. Purport. This statement of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28 definitely negates the concept that Sri Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu or Narayana. Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the supreme cause of all causes. This verse clearly indicates that incarnations of the personality of Godhead, such as Sri Rama, Nrisimha, and Varaha, all undoubtedly belong to the Vishnu group, but all of them are either plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Caitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this sequence of verses from Caitanya-caritāmṛta is very important. So the question may come up, well, why is it so important? Of course, every verse is important. Every section is important. But here, Krishnadas Kaviraj goes to explain what is the position of the various avatars of Lord Krishna, the Purusha avatars. We have Mahavishnu, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. The position of Lord Narayana, the position of the Chaturvyuha, or Vasudev, Samkarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And here he quotes different verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, basically explaining the unique position of Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Srila Prabhupada explains in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta in the Madhya Lila that Sanatana Goswami has written a book, Rupa Goswami, has written a book called Lagu Bhagavatamrita. I don't know if everybody can see. This is Rupa Goswami, Lagu Bhagavatamrita. What this book is a very systematic description by Rupa Goswami of all the different avatars of Krishna. And in this book, also in Jiva Goswami's Krishna Sandarbha, they both quote from the Brahma Samhita, Rama di Murtishu Kalaniyamena Tishtan, Nana Avataramakara Bhuvaneshu Kintu, Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo, Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This verse from Brahma Samhita explains very nicely the unique position of Lord Krishna, that all the avatars, Ramadi, Lord Rama, and all the different avatars, they're all manifestations from Krishna, from the original two-handed form of Lord Krishna. Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo. This is the original form. Interestingly, in 1976, at the opening of the Radha Madan Mohan Temple in Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, India, at Janmashtami, we had arranged to bring Mahamsa Swami, myself, and Achyutananda Swami. We had managed to bring 12 Sri Vaishnava Brahmanas, Ramanuja Brahmanas. And the reason we did that is because many of our life members, many friends basically said, if you don't get local Brahmins or local Vaishnava Brahmins to do the ceremony, the local people will not accept your temple. So out of concern for the sensitivities of the various local groups, Srila Prabhupada sanctioned that we bring these 12 Brahmanas. Now the chief of those Brahmanas, Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya, was very, very friendly to our movement. We had met him in Bangalore in 1971 when we first went there. And basically when he came there, Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya, with these 12 Brahmanas, they had long discussions with Srila Prabhupada. And one of those discussions was the position of Krishna, the position of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And Prabhupada quoted from an Upanishad called the Narayana Upanishad, Brahmanyo Devaki Putro Brahmanyo Madhusudanaha, that the Supreme Brahman is the son of Devaki, the two-handed form of Krishna. And Prabhupada quoted various other items from Brahma Samhita, Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, although we do know that both the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Sri Vaishnavas, and the Madhva Sampradaya, they think that Lord Narayana is the origin of Krishna, that Krishna is an avatar of Lord Narayana. Our Gaudiya-acharyas, such as Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, also followed by Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and our three most recent acharyas, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada, all have concluded, based on the writings of the 6 Goswamis and the Caitanya-caritāmṛta that we're reading today, that Lord Sri Krishna, the two-headed form of Lord Krishna, is the original personality of Godhead. In 1972, once we saw Prabhupada in Vrindavan, Guru Kripa Swami and myself brought up this point that we had discussions with one of the Swamis in Udupi, who told us that Narayana is the origin and Krishna is the avatar, and we argued with him slightly. So when we brought this up to Srila Prabhupada basically pointed out that according to our acharyas, the Gaudiya acharyas, our conclusion is that Krishna is the origin, and this is the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. Says we follow the conclusion of our acharyas. It says that is an easy way to avoid any disputes with them. But ultimately, Prabhupada also in one conversation discusses how there's really no difference between Lord Narayana and Lord Krishna, because all of them are Vishnu Tattva. Prabhupada gives the example from the Brahmā Samhita, that verse, Diparchire vahi dashantaram abhyupetyam. That's like if you take one candle and light another candle, both of them have lights, but just that one candle comes from the original candle. So in this way, also in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate, that everything comes from me, the material and spiritual worlds. And there are numerous references in various sections of the Vedas. There's an Upanishad called the Krishna Upanishad, which has many citations confirming the exalted position of Lord Krishna. And all the literatures given by the acharyas, or acharyas, especially the 6 Goswamis, confirm this. And Srila Prabhupada has explained this many places in his books. But devotees should study this very carefully, understand the position of these 3 Purusha avatars, these various incarnations, the position of Lord Narayana, the position of the Chaturvyuha, and the various expansions. It's interesting that in these purports, Prabhupada is explained, based on the writing of Krishna's Kaviraj, that Lord Krishna is called Turiya, or the 4 dimensions. That Lord Krishna basically is transcendental. The transcendental, on text number 52, in the purport, the last sentence, Srila Prabhupada explains, but the transcendental position of Sri Krishna himself is not even slightly tinged by Maya. His transcendental state is called Turiya, or the 4th dimensional stage. So this again, Krishna's position is very special. And Prabhupada explains in his writings that only those who follow in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis can understand the exalted position of Radha and Krishna. So this is quite important. It's also significant to note that the 3 North Indian Vaishnava Sampradayas, namely the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the Vallabha Sampradaya, and the Nimbarka Sampradaya, all accept that Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead based on this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Very important point. Again, Srila Prabhupada also explains in a Brahmā Samhita, also based on the commentary of Jiva Goswami as translated and commented upon by his Guru Maharaj Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, the exalted position of Krishna. The first verse of the 5th chapter of Brahmā Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadira Dirgovinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. There's very elaborate purport that is given by Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj explaining the unique position of Lord Krishna. This is also related to the name of Krishna. Jiva Goswami in his purport on the first verse of Brahmā Samhita, he explains, based on a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna in the Adi Purana, Nam Nam Mukyatamam Nama Krishna Kyam Metaran Parantapa. That, my dear Arjuna, you should know that amongst my unlimited names, the name Krishna is my principal name. So it's a very special position. The name of Krishna, according to our Gaudiya Acharyas, is the principal name of the Lord. And that's why Srila Prabhupada has delivered the Mahamantra and requested all the devotees, all of his followers and students, to chant the Mahamantra at least 16 rounds every day, and to chant this Mahamantra during Kirtan. Now, I'm quite aware that there's numerous different songs in different Vaishnava ballads or Vishnu, the different mantras that are being chanted by various other groups of Vaishnavas. Now, our position is not to criticize various devotees, but our position is to follow the position of the great Acharya Srila Prabhupada. This is what he is given. For Kirtan, he is recommended we should chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra, Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda, and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now this is the standard. Now there's various other songs like Jagannath Swami, Nayana Patagami Bhavatume to glorify Lord Jagannath. That was authorized by Srila Prabhupada. Also the song Govinda Jaya Jagopala Jaya Jaya, that was authorized by Prabhupada. And the song from Caitanya-caritāmṛta of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he went to Jharikanda forest, he was saying Krishna, 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 hey, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam, like that. That was also authorized by Prabhupada. But I've often mentioned that one problem we're now facing is it's like an insidious introduction that has infiltrated into that group. That various new mantras have come up. Now, the difficulty with these mantras is that Prabhupada, first of all, did not give those mantras. They're not authorized. And those mantras then nowhere can be found in the authorized Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures, such as Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangala. It is not there. But there is numerous other devotees or Sahaja devotees who take things cheaply, who invent various songs. Now, our point is we are interested in fact-finding. We want to find out what is the authorized instructions given by our Acharya Srila Prabhupada and follow that. It is not complicated. In the Prameya Ratnavali of Baladevi Vidyabhūshana, he explains Sampradaya Vihinaye Mantraste Nifalamataha, that if you do not receive your mantra from bona fide authorized disciplic succession, vifala, it will be useless. It will not produce result. Now, some people may say, well, they're chanting the name of Radharani. They're chanting the name of Krishna. Why should you object? Well, this is not the standard. That's the objection. The acharyas have not prescribed that. Baladevi Vidyabhūshana in the beginning of Prameya Ratnavali in the first section is very clearly explained that you're not supposed to do that. You have to receive that mantra from the authorized acharyas in a bona fide disciplic succession. And what we have is the proliferation of these different kind of unauthorized mantras, unauthorized songs, and it's creating chaos. Prabhupada explains, many times he would quote from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, of Srila Rupa Goswami, Shruti Smriti Puranadi, Pancharatraka Vidim Vina, Ekantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayeva Kalpate, that devotional service which does not follow the Shruti, Smriti, Pancharatra, and the authorized Vaishnava literatures simply will create chaos. Utpatayeva Kalpate. This is what we are seeing. And devotees should very intelligently understand this. It is not a complicated situation. It is not a very difficult concept to understand. Simply people have to put aside their mental speculation, their tendency to concoct and manufacture nonsense ideas and stick to the instruction of the Acharya. Just this week, I was having a discussion with a neighbor, and I was explaining that religion, the truth, the essential truth of what is real religious practice is not easy to understand. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. I said, it says in the Mahabharata that it is guhayam, it is like secret. It is concealed. Well, how do you understand that? If it's concealed, who can have access to this information? Mahajano yenagata sapantaha, that one has to follow in the path of great Mahajan, the great authorities. The great authorities are listed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 12 authorized Mahajans. In Prabhupada, just like a little while ago, a couple of lectures ago, Vishwakarma Prabhu was reading from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, a very nice purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, where he explains that according to people's positions, they will regard certain individuals as Mahajan or Mahatmas. But in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have the authorized Mahajans. Just like I was listing these great acharyas and spiritual master. And the greatest acharya in recent memory is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. He's the foremost authority on Vaishnava teachings and Vaishnava theology and practice. And he has given what is the standard for personal practice and preaching. He has given the standards. It's given there in his unrevised, non-adulterated books. And if somebody follows that, then the path to perfection is assured. But if one becomes envious of the position of the acharya, becomes disrespectful to the acharya, becomes impudent to the acharya, then it will be big trouble. That is why in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto there is a warning by Lord Krishna to Uddhava in the Uddhava Gita. Acharyam mam vijaniyan navamanina karichit. Namartya buddhya suryata. And one should never think of the acharya to be an ordinary man. Never. In the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th canto, there's a purport that's quite significant, where Prabhupada says, this was interesting because that was written around 1975, 1976. Now, we all know that Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, started his movement in 1965, 66. But by 1975, 1976, Prabhupada could detect certain tendencies. And in one purport, he describes one should stop thinking the spiritual master an ordinary man. That means that Prabhupada detected that many of his followers and students were starting to think Prabhupada as an ordinary man. That should never be done. There's another conversation Prabhupada said, one should never think the spiritual master or ordinary man, even though he may behave like an ordinary man. That's why Krishna gave that warning in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. One should never neglect the position of the acharya. One should never be envious of the position of the acharya. We also hear the warning that Prabhupada used to often give from the Padma Purana. Gurushu naramatihi yasyave narakisa. That if one thinks the spiritual master, the bona fide, authorized, fully liberated, transcendental Mahabhagavat to be an ordinary man, then Yasyave is a candidate for the lower regions. So one should be very careful not to fall prey to these various snares of Maya. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that extremely scholarly presentation of Prabhupada's written works with your explanation. And I wanted to further add, Yaśodā Prabhu, that you are 100% right about not only understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya-caritāmṛta from the bona fide spiritual master, but also the instructions that come from him in terms of how to practice Krishna consciousness. Because it's like a razor's edge, very sharp. And if people do not follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada based on his example and his teachings, it can create chaos. Like, for example, recently, we've been discussing in our Facebook group about the system of offering prasadam. And Prabhupada very clearly explains that first you offer the prasadam to the spiritual master, and then the spiritual master offers the prasadam to Krishna. And in this way, it becomes a bona fide sacrifice. Bona fide. Now, the question was brought up, Yaśodā Prabhu. If the GBC or the organization that's running his society decides to change the rules and offer the food first to Krishna, is that food prasadam? That's the question. Is it a bona fide process if it's being taught differently than the way our spiritual master taught it to his disciples? For example, the kirtan, as you brought up. The kirtan is specifically given in Caitanya-caritāmṛta, how to perform kirtan. Lord Chaitanya, when you read along, everyone, in the various sections of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, you'll see references of how the kirtan was conducted with mridangam and kartal players, singers, and dancers. I believe it's 16 kartal players, 4 mridangas, like that, to be included in the kirtan party. And then the mantras are specific. And Prabhupada outlines them in Caitanya-caritāmṛta to be the Bhaja Shri Krishna, or Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, the Panchatattva mantra, and then the Hare Krishna mantra to be chanted after. So very specific. And in the ISKCON movement that we were members, in the morning, there was the morning melody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. That was the morning melody. And then the evening melody, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Like that. Those were the two main melodies that we used in the temple in the early years, those two. And it was consistent. Everybody followed that process, and it was quite ecstatic, I must say. So the changes to the kirtan now are quite different. And as a result, the question, and I might pose it to you, Yaśodā, as we move forward in the class, what is the meaning of the instructions, the potency of the instructions of someone who has changed the instructions of his guru and then conveys them to his so-called disciples?
Well, this has been discussed for many years by many devotees. And I think the problem we have is the justification that has been given by various proponents of these changes is that Prabhupada in 1976 wrote a letter how you wanted the deity worship in this society to be summarized in a 20-page booklet based on Hari Bhakti Vilas. Now, the original instruction was started by Nitai Das, who started the project. That was interrupted. Then a devotee in Los Angeles named Jai Sachinandana, very nice kirtan leader and scholarly devotee, he took up the project of trying to do that. Then Prajimna for a while took up the project, Panditji. But all these devotees, for various reasons, no fault of their own, could not completely complete that. I was in Vrindavan in late 1976 in the Bhaktivedanta Swami Gurukul. I had been assigned there directly by Srila Prabhupada, and some devotees brought me the initial drafts of that booklet. And one of the first questions that I had is, where are all these new procedures coming from? In other words, in our sampradaya, there's the Hare Bhakti Vilas, there are various other manuals by different acharyas. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to have a manual for deity worship. In his institution, there was another deity manual that was compiled by two acharyas named Dhyana Chandra Goswami and Gopal Guru Goswami after the manifested presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was called Gaur Govinda Archana Padati, which was a systematic manual on how to worship the deities. Then, over the years, when the six Goswamis put their literature, there were numerous instructions, especially by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, regarding deity worship in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now, various other groups, like various followers of Nityananda Vamsa, Advaita Vamsas, different groups, had their own procedures over the years. By the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the situation was very messy. So he had one manual. What Prabhupada did when he came to America was very simple. If anybody has ever seen pictures of Prabhupada's first, in Los Angeles, California in 1969, when he installed the first Hare Krishna deities, it was very simple. It was not like a 3 or 4 day ceremony like we did in 1976 or 1977. Prabhupada kept things very simple. His method of offering the bhoga to the deities was very simple. His method of deity worship for the artik was very simple. Now, whether or not that was due to time, place, and circumstances and the level of consciousness of the people that he was preaching to, it could have been a very valid reason. But by 1976, Srila Prabhupada wanted to standardize the deity worship. Now, I think what has happened is many of these devotees end up going to various advisors from various neo-mats, various Gaudiya mats, and got various advices or various counsel how they should do that. Now, as far as the mantras they have used, the different songs and the different mantras, most of them they've given some references, because what happened is in Vrindavan in late 76, 77, when we had the original draft, and some of the pujaris starting to discuss, like, where is this from? Because up from 1965 to 1976, nobody had these complex procedures that were suggested in that new Archan Padati. The Padati was officially published in 1978 with an introduction from the Mathura advisor. But the problem is the procedures which they're suggesting, no one has explained them. I don't know if anybody can explain them today. Now, some people claim it's from Hare Bhakti Vilas. Okay, give us the citation. Where is it from? The prayers they've done, with all due respect and fairness to the compilers of the current Archan Padati they have, the compilers did a fairly good job of identifying the references and citation of the different prayers and mantras they've given. What they've not done is identify all these new procedures, because the procedures were so complicated, nobody could follow them. Nobody could actually apply them. And there's been various editions of that book that they've made. So I think the best thing to do with many devotees, they just want to return to Prabhupada's original simple instruction, specifically for offering artik and offering the bhoga. It should be first offered according to the directives of Srila Prabhupada in a letter to Balai Devi Dasi in 1968 and a letter to Himavati in 1970. There was one article that we compiled, Damagosh, Narasimha Prabhu, and myself, how to offer bhoga to the deities. I'm going to circulate this fairly soon. It can be put up on our website, which explains all the quotations from Srila Prabhupada in a proper process. Because the logic they've given in their new procedures is that you cannot offer food to the spiritual master or the guru if it's been offered to Krishna. In other words, you cannot offer food, to Krishna if it's been enjoyed by the guru. But this is not how Srila Prabhupada, our Acharya, has explained it. Prabhupada never explained that the guru is enjoying the bhoga. He's explained that the guru accepts the bhoga, and then what he does is that he offers it to his guru. And then he offers it also to his guru. And it goes all the way to Lord Chaitanya and all the way to Krishna. This is the standard. Srila Prabhupada wrote in a letter to Himavati on April 1st, 1970, yes, it is nice that you are worshiping Lord Chaitanya along with Radha Krishna. That is all right. Lord Chaitanya should be placed to the right side of Krishna. There is nothing special for his worship, but you may continue as you are doing now. The order of worshiping is first spiritual master, and then Lord Chaitanya, then Radha Krishna, as in the mantras or Vandeham prayer. Your confidence to do whatever you are instructed by the spiritual master is very encouraging. Yes, this is the method of the Vedic injunction. Stunt faith in the spiritual master in Krishna makes one perfect in spiritual understanding. So this is a very important point, that people have concocted this idea that the guru is enjoying the offering. This is not correct. That is not the understanding. So there's numerous other references, like there's a letter to Balai Devi Dasi on the 22nd of March, 1968, where Prabhupada is explaining, yes, you may say the prayer to the spiritual master 3 times, and also the Namo Brahmanya prayer 3 times when offering prasad. That is very nice to say the mantra 3 times. Also, you may, after offering to the spiritual master, offer to Lord Chaitanya by saying the prayer Namo Mahabhadanyaya 3 times, and then offer to Krishna thrice. So this is very important. In another letter on June 16th, 1969, Srila Prabhupada says, regarding your question about offering prasadam, whatever is offered to the deity, actually it goes through the spiritual master. The spiritual master offers to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya offers it to Krishna. Then Radha Krishna eats, or Jagat eats. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eats. Then the spiritual master eats, and it becomes Mahaprasadam. So when you offer something, you think like that and chant the Gayatri mantra, and then everything is complete. At last, ring the bell, take out the plate, and wipe the place where the place was kept. So like that, there are numerous instructions from Srila Prabhupada regarding this topic. I'll be circulating those fairly soon. But in a nutshell, it should be done the authorized way that Srila Prabhupada has done. Maybe Balaram Prabhu in Australia, he was a temple president for many years. He might have some comments about this. What do you think, Balaram Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Wonderful dissertation there. Thank you. Yes, during the time I was temple president in Melbourne for about 14 years, from 1975, when Srila Prabhupada opened the Melbourne temple, where he personally installed the big Gaunitai deities and opened the temple until about 1989. And during that time, we had the processes, as you've explained, of offering bhog and arti and everything like that. That was all very pucker at the time. But after I left, I heard that there were changes that had been made, which were quite shocking, you might say. And unfortunately, there were some devotees in Australia who decided to change things. I was not very associated with ISKCON for all that time, but I heard that they were first offering to Krishna and then down the line coming back like that. We discussed that, and exactly the point that you were making was that they're trying to say that Krishna, that the spiritual master, when it's offered to him, that he's enjoying before it gets to Krishna. But we say no. We offer to Prabhupada, he passes it on to his Guru Maharaj, and so on like that down the line for the disciplic succession, and then finally offered to Krishna. And this is actually the importance of understanding the parampara. Maybe people logging on that are new devotees that don't really understand maybe so much the importance of receiving information through the parampara, the authorized system. We understand we've been reading about the position of Lord Brahmā and the various incarnations and plenary portions of Krishna through the Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading. And actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where you're explaining the different incarnations, and at the end, these are described, Edecham Sakala Pumsa Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. So after enumerating all of the different incarnations, then it's explained that actually Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme ultimate personality. Now this information, we only really get this through the parampara. That's why it's so important. And Lord Brahmā is the founding father of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So everything, and also these unauthorized mantras, Baladev Vidyabasan, he's explaining that a mantra not received through the one of the genuine four paramparas will not have effect. I was reading or hearing in a class, Prabhupada said, yes, there may be some effect. Someone chants Krishna's name, so that's recorded in their logbook. Paramatma understands, and there's some sincerity there, but that mantra won't have the same effect. And in that class, Prabhupada was actually saying that one must take initiation from the bona fide Acharya to receive the mantra and have the mantra take full effect. So we have to receive information, spiritual information in that way. Nigama kalpataru galitam phalam sukha mukadamrita drava samjitam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhurahura sika bhavi bhavukaha. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, the third verse explains how we receive transcendental knowledge information. And Prabhupada said it's just like when they're picking mangoes. He gave that example. Mangoes are very, especially when they're ripe, the ripe mango is passed down through a chain of people on the tree. So when the fruit gets to the bottom, it's undamaged. That's the verse in the Bhagavatam was that, O thoughtful men, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. It has been passed down, and as it is touched by the lips of Sri Shukadev Goswami, it is even more relishable, even for liberated souls. So this is how we receive the transcendental knowledge. So Prabhupada is the living Acharya. He is the living Acharya. The Acharya and the founder of ISKCON. we see founder Acharya, there's a hyphen there. So Prabhupada is the founder and the Acharya. So we have to see that anything we're receiving from Srila Prabhupada is coming down in the line of disciplic succession. So all these things, the deity worship, the mantras, the chanting, if we simply follow Srila Prabhupada, then we're in direct contact with the parampara and also Lord Krishna. So thank you very much for the wonderful, wonderful discussion.
Very, very profound comments. Thank you as well, Prabhu, for your explanation. Vinkat Prabhu, I see we have a question from Michael on the chat about chanting of melodies. Could you read it out for us?
Sure. Unless Michael Prabhu, does he want to read it himself?
Michael, do you want to read it or?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right, Hare Krishna. So I was wondering if Prabhupada wanted us to sing in a certain melody for different kirtans, or if we can create our own melodies. If one day we feel like singing a certain melody and another day we want to go into another melody, depending on our moods. So I wanted to know if it was okay to do that.
I can give an answer to that for you. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting Hare Krishna that we know from Lord Chaitanya's 6 Shastakam prayers. And there were specific types of chanting that Prabhupada didn't like specifically. For example, the extended singing of, say, I'll give you an example. I don't want to sing too much, but I'll just give you an idea. Hare Krishna, like that kind of thing. This was not what Prabhupada wanted to hear from us, that we were some kind of singers, opera singers or kirtan singers like that. It was basically sing the mantra and repeat the words. As far as melodies, again, there are no hard and fast rules. So you might have a melody that you like to sing, you go ahead and sing it. What I was referring to, or what Prabhupada was when you're in the temple in front of the deities and you're conducting these morning and evening programs, there was a specific standard that he preferred that we would follow. But as far as singing in the car, maybe singing along the melody, it's interesting, Dr. Michael, that how many words are in the Maha Mantra? 16. So music is divided into four whole notes, 8 notes, or 16 notes. So a lot of times as a musician, I'll notice that you can sing the mantra to almost any song.
Yes.
Because it's 16 notes. So if you're singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, like that, you can sing like that. So I released a song as a professional musician. I released Hare Krishna Jamaica. And it was actually supposed to be Krishna, 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 hey. And when I was at the studio in Jamaica, I forgot it was that, so I just did the chanting of Hare Krishna for it and had all the people chant along. And then we did double time, like a rap. So you're multiplying the chant. And a lot of people that are more accustomed to that in the Western style music, it's an introduction for them. Oh, I get it. Yeah. So like that, you can bring in these different innovations in a sense, but for the classic temple programs, it is recommended, like Vishnu John Swami sang that beautiful morning version of Hare Krishna, which we've all listened to thousands of times. And you never grow tired of hearing it. It was so spectacular. And another great kirtan leader for us was Achyutananda. Yaśodā knows Achyutananda. Prabhu became an outstanding kirtan leader in India in the early 70s. And his tapes and chanting circulated around through the movement, and they were played in the kitchens and while people were cooking prasadam, and Vishnu John's kirtans were played. And it was all just a glorious musical experience for all of us to hear all these melodies and to listen to Prabhupada, how he expertly plays the mridanga. Oh my God, it's just, when we hear it here at the class, and if you've got headphones like some of us are wearing, you hear the stereophonic sound of the voom voom and the Te'io Tanakate, Ditcha, Doom, Teeny, Ta. The way Prabhupada plays it is so expert. So it's a musical movement. It's a feasting movement. Like we were asking the question to Yaśodā, and the question has been brought up about prasadam. Well, It is a high standard of prasadam. So when you introduce the cooking of samosa in oil, or the cooking of samosa, look at Balaram, his face is turning. Hey Prabhu, they cook the subjis in oil, and it completely changes the standard dramatically. Then they offer it improperly. Sorry for diverting, but I had a fellow that called me from Toronto, who was a former, was a member of the temple when I was the president as well. And he was telling me that he was cooking the prasadam for Rath Yatra. I said, oh, well, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that. But I'm a devotee. I've changed my devotional service focus to Shiva. I'm now a Shivite. Excuse me? You're cooking prasadam for Krishna, but you're a devotee of Lord Shiva. This doesn't make sense to me. Or you're not initiated as a first or second class devotee of Prabhupada. You're just a guy that they got that knows how to cook sabji. Like, what are you doing? So, is it prasadam? Well, all of you decide. Do you want to go eat that prasadam? Do you want to think that it's prasadam? You can think these sentimental points of view, but in reality, according to Shastra, according to Prabhupada's directions, it is not prasadam, because there are rules and regulations that have to be followed in order for us to accomplish the desired result. So that makes sense. In other words, everything has to be qualified on the basis of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, and qualified on the basis of the members of the movement that are performing those teachings to give people the desired result. Balaram Prabhu, you've got your hand up, please, in Australia.
Yeah, regarding the oily stuff.
Sorry for that.
We always said oil is for the outside of the body and ghee is for the inside of the body. So when we were, during time I was in charge in Melbourne, we opened two wonderful restaurants there. One was, we called it Gopal's. Most of the restaurants around the world were Govindas, but we called ours Gopal's Vegetarian. And also we had a preaching center just down from that. There was simplified prasadam, but a donation, and that was a preaching center that we had there. So we always cooked everything in ghee, beautiful Lowry ghee. Prabhupada said the ghee in Australia was fabulous. We used to, when we'd go from Australia to India, we used to take buckets of Australian ghee to for Prabhupada. You might remember
I remember that because we were in Mayapur. They didn't have ghee, so they were using oil. And I remember it was brought by the Australian devotees. So at the Mayapur festival, we got the prasadam cooked from the ghee that you brought for the devotees.
We were the ghee wallahs. So what happened after some time, after I'd left Melbourne, I moved up to Queensland. I went back down to Melbourne a couple of times, and I noticed that the restaurant was then they'd changed and they were using oil. And I said, why are you using oil? And, we know ghee is the standard, even in the restaurants. And it doesn't go off, it doesn't go rancid. And you know what their reply was? Oh, what? The vegans got on our case. Right? The vegans, because the vegans they don't have ghee because it's a milk product. So they changed their whole position on ghee and oil because they were influenced by the vegans. So I don't know anywhere else in the world, but that was the reason that they gave for not maintaining the ghee.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, very
Yaśodā,
unfortunate.
we're going to try to wind up now. Is there a last comment from you, Prabhu?
I don't have much comments after such illustrious scholarly comments by Balaram Prabhu. He's nicely summarized very, very succinctly the standards that Prabhupada established. And if we follow those standards, we'll get all the benefits. I see that Shyam Sundar Prabhu, he's disappeared from the pictures, but his hand is up. Go ahead, Prabhu. Make your comment, please, or question.
Shyam Sundar,
Thank you
please.
so much for the beautiful discussion, class. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much.
Haribol.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Just in regarding the kirtan standards, after experiencing a few years in the temple, I noticed that many kirtan leaders weren't so good musically. And I know that on a high level, I mean, I don't know, but I've read that on a high level Raganuga stage, it doesn't matter whether the music is melodious or not. One is just relishing the Maha Mantra. But on the lower levels, things like melody and tunes, they mean a lot for helping us to be attracted to the holy name. So what I was wondering was, in Prabhupada's time, was there a sort of a standard in the temples where only sort of qualified kirtaniers should lead the kirtans for the pleasure of all the Vaishnavas, or could just anybody get up and just clash the cartels and sing unmelodiously? Was there a standard like that?
You know, I can volunteer an answer for that. The way it worked was, you know, when you were in a role of kirtan, you would teach people. Being a musician myself, and many of my associates were qualified, like Nandi Keshwar in Montreal was an expert musician. We had Mahavirya in Montreal, it was an expert musician. So what we did was, and in Toronto, we had many expert musicians, you know, Kanda Pras, who could play the drum like nobody's business. And there were people there that knew how to play the cartels. So the idea was to make the kirtan first class. That was the idea, because that's the way Prabhupada was. It was first class, not that arbitrarily anybody could get up and start bang. Like personally, I couldn't stand it. If you couldn't play in time, don't play. If you can't dance in time, then dance out of time. That's okay. But try to learn how to do the two-step. Like a lot of people are spastic. Okay? We used to call them spastic. They're like this. They can't sing and play and dance at the same time. They're all over the place. So how do you develop that? You practice. So the idea with us as a temple president, we would teach the people how to play 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. You don't have to play all the fancy grooves and rhythms, but you should learn how to play the basic time and then stay in time. There's nothing worse than people playing out of time when they're trying to do a kirtan. I noticed on some of the recordings, Dvaipana, when you listen to them, a Prabhupada, he wouldn't let these people play that were with him, the new people. So what they did was they would multi-track him playing. He'd play the cartels, he'd play the mridanga, he'd play the harmonium, and then he'd sing. And therefore it was perfect. So like that, you know, it's okay if somebody gets up and starts chanting and this and that. But overall, people should learn how to do things expertly. It's like cooking in the kitchen. I was trained how to do eggplant balaram. I cooked for 3,000 people at New Vrindavan, eggplant balaram, and there was a big competition, and I won the competition. I made the best prep for all the devotees at the festival because I was trained up. I got trained up. I don't want to mention the people that trained me up because they're now not recognized, but it was Jagadish Prabhu and his wife in Toronto. They trained me up how to make eggplant balaram. And then I learned how to do it. There was a way to do it. It's not that you just make things up. You learn from others. And then Prabhupada was teaching everyone. And then they were teaching us, and it was being passed down, these systems for kirtan, for prasadam, for cleanliness, all these different systems, how to become a first-class devotee. So I hope that helps in giving you an understand. Yes, it should be well done kirtans, done properly, dancing properly, decorative, everything nice, first class. Prabhupada would even say about karmi clothes. I don't know if you know this. And I know when I left the movement, I followed that process of dressing up. Because Prabhupada, if you're going to dress up, go first class. Don't come as a bum. Come first class. Devotees are first class human beings. We're not slum. We don't just walk around looking like bums or hippies. This is what I see a lot of times. A lot of the devotees, they don't care about their appearance. It matters. It does matter. You're representing Krishna, especially if you're speaking on Krishna consciousness. Look first class. I mean, I went over the top for some time and it was just ridiculous. I was, Giorgio Armani and, Hugo Boss and all of that ridiculousness. But, at the same time, it worked. People liked it. They saw me. They had respect for us. They knew we were devotees. So like that, we should be first class. That's the conclusion. In everything we try to present to other people, go first class. Don't be shy. Prabhupada never wanted us to be shy as Vaishnavas. Nowadays, I have my head shaved and a Sika. I've had it for about 6 or 7 years now. And nowadays, everybody has a different hairstyle. So a lot of times people compliment me when I go out. Geez, I like your hairstyle. I just shake my head. I go, okay, good. I'm glad you like my hairstyle. They don't ask a question even why. They just look. At least it's not pink or yellow or purple. You see these people walking around purple hair. Well, we have Sikas, so don't be shy with your appearance, everyone. Feel proud that you're a devotee. Feel proud that you're a representative of a pure devotee. And feel proud that you're serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Vinod, anything else in our talk that you could mention? Or wonderful?
No, I don't think so. There was a question by Bhakta Michael Prabhu from before. I don't know if he has that question still.
That's been answered with all the mantras. That's clear. It's been written out. Listen, I want to thank everybody. Balaramji in Australia, Michael in Montreal, thank you for your questions. Rathayatra showing us the background there. Shamasundar, you in Australia, really terrific. And I wanted to mention too briefly that you have, maybe at the next class, you could tell people about what you're doing in terms of the prasadam distribution that Yaśodā has spoken about, and encourage other people, maybe in other parts of the world, to follow your example and help them also develop a program like you have for prasadam distribution. So
yeah, sure.
that's
We'd love to.
And that would be just amazing. And last, we're starting a Bhakta program, Balaram. I think I sent you the list of the topics. So Vinod got it, and we're going to be assigning different people to speak. And I think there's over 22 different topics. We'll have to include Shyam Sundar in that program, if you will. And they're half-hour programs. And this will be a chance for new people outside of this class, which is more about people that are experienced in Krishna consciousness, that know about this philosophy, that are interested in these different topics. This will be a specific program to give people understanding of our philosophy and bring them to the point of attending all the classes and enjoying all of the Krishna Katha that our organization is presenting to the world for the future benefit of all generations. So Vinod, please, let's move to the Kirtan. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Right.
Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
That's the evening melody, by the way, everyone. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Thank you, everyone. It was blissful, very
Hare
blissful.
Krishna, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Robert. Keep going, don't stop. Thank you, everyone. It's just, we can never this will never happen again. We're on a journey. We got to keep going. Haribol.